here, well, it took us 6 hours. That's because of the traffic on the road. There was a lot of Ukrainian military deploying, regrouping, going in all directions, vehicle, personnel, equipment, all sorts of things on the road. And amongst that, there was also people leaving. I could see from the window of the car, you know, people with their belongings, with their suitcases. We could see pickup trucks with personal belongings on them, and then a lot of checkpoints. And we drove through, we took a side road because the main road was quite busy. We took some side roads. We went through villages, and I was observing all the villages, nothing was open. All the businesses were shut. Yes, food shops were open, you know, pharmacies were open, very few people on the road. And as we approached, we could see these territorial defense units that had been trained, building trenches, building up positions. That's their role, protect the cities, the entries, the exits. And then we slowly arrived to Dnipro. And as we arrived in Dnipro, we were told, well, now there's a curfew, you got to stay indoors. That part of the country still hasn't seen the violence, but people are taking the precautions. People know that the war is coming to their doorsteps. The question is, when is it coming? And certainly they know it's not going to be pretty.
One of our colleagues was briefly detained as he was reporting from eastern Ukraine. Charles Stratford is also now in Dnipro. Here's his story.
We've returned from the city of Zaporizhia, where the situation is becoming increasingly tense. A lot more military checkpoints, a lot more military hardware than we saw there yesterday. As an indication of how tense it is, we were preparing to go live, to do a live broadcast where out of nowhere, seemingly, a group of Ukrainian soldiers and Ukrainian police appeared with their guns, many of them pointing towards us, firing in the air. They demanded that we get out of the vehicle. We threw ourselves to the ground. Our cameraman's telephone was kicked out of his hand, and 2 bullets fired from a Kalashnikov into that telephone. Now, it's important to recognize that these men were just doing their jobs. There are increasing fears amongst the Ukrainian military and security services about what they describe as saboteurs, trying to get into cities and compromising military positions. But as I say, our cameras were still rolling when this incident happened. Let's take a look. Hi, Doha. Hey. Stop filming.
Журналисты, можно я выйду?
Journalist.
Можно я выйду?
Journalist.
Выйти можно?
Journalist.
Что делать?
Also reports from the port city of Mariupol, witnesses telling us that what they describe as being increasing numbers of paramilitaries on the streets, Ukrainian paramilitaries helping the Ukrainian army trying to defend the city from what we understand is a push by Russian forces from the west. We know that the city has also suffered heavy shelling from the east. We've also been speaking to people fleeing the area north of Crimea, around the city of Kherson. People telling us or alleging that Russian forces that have taken control of some of those towns are preventing Ukrainian citizens from leaving them. The situation on the roads around Dnipro, very tense. Checkpoints a lot more strict. At one checkpoint, we saw a Russian helicopter fly low over the checkpoint, causing panic, causing people to scatter away, even the security services that were manning that checkpoint. But there are increasing fears of the tens, if not hundreds of thousands of civilians that are trying to put as much distance as they can between them and Russian forces advancing on these Ukrainian cities as the front lines become increasingly blurred.
Al Jazeera's Rania Dridi is in southwest Russia, where resources are being deployed across the border.
Convoys of Russian military gear continue to flood across the Russian-Ukraine border, armoured gear and vehicle-mounted missiles. As you can see behind me, an armoured vehicle carrying self-propelled missiles is headed towards the borderline with Ukraine. Now, these batteries can fire 16 missiles within 20 seconds. The convoys will take part in the ongoing military operations, the fiercest of which is currently raging on the Donbass front. Where we are standing now is only a few kilometres from the border, and this scene is repeated elsewhere as other convoys are crossing the borderline into Ukraine on other roads.
Bernard Smith is in Moscow with the latest on the diplomatic efforts there.
Reduction Treaty, the START Treaty that was signed in 2010 and extended to 2021. And also the Council of Europe has suspended Russia, and Medvedev calls that really unfair. The Council of Europe, created after the Second World War to encourage democracy